These 7 signs indicate that you are chosen by God. There is a reason you are here. This message was meant for you. You've felt it for a long time, the sense that your life is different, that you are not created to walk the same path as everyone else. You faced hard times that should have broken you, but you're still standing. You've lost people, faced impossible situations, but something keeps pushing you forward. Deep down, you know there's something greater calling you. What if I told you none of this was random? What if every struggle was actually preparing you for something amazing? The Bible is clear. God chooses people for special purposes. He doesn't pick randomly. He refines those he calls like gold through fire. But how do you know if you're chosen? There are clear signs that God has his hand on your life. Once you see them, everything changes. You'll stop questioning your purpose. You'll stop feeling lost. You'll walk with confidence because you'll finally understand what's been happening in your life. Today, I'm sharing 7 powerful signs that prove you are chosen by God. These aren't just ideas. They're biblical truths found in every person God has called, from Abraham to Moses to David to Paul. If you see these signs in your life, you're not ordinary. You're part of something much bigger. Before we go deeper, I want you to do one important thing. Subscribe to this channel now so you never miss out on life-changing revelations like this. You are here for a reason, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you will see your life through a completely new lens. Sign 1, a deep sense of purpose that never fades. I want you to do something important right now. Go to the comments and write, "I believe God has chosen me for something great." This isn't just a comment, it's a declaration over your life. It's a step of faith. And I will personally like and read every single one. So declare it now. Let heaven and earth hear you. In Jeremiah 1:5, God says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." This means your calling was placed on you before you even took your first breath. Your purpose was assigned long before the world even knew your name. You've always known that you were different. While others are content with a simple existence, you have never been able to settle for a life without meaning. There is something inside you that craves more. More than just surviving, more than just working for money, more than just existing. It's as if your heart is restless, constantly searching for something deeper. That is because you were created for more. But here's the truth. Those who are chosen often struggle the most. Why? Because God refines those whom he calls. Look at the life of Joseph. He had dreams of greatness, yet he was betrayed, sold into slavery, and imprisoned. To an outsider, it looked like everything was falling apart. But in reality, God was positioning him for a greater destiny. This is your story too. The setbacks, the betrayals, the moments of uncertainty, they are not signs of failure. They are signs that God is preparing you. He is molding you so that when the time comes, you will be ready. Have you ever wondered why you do not fit in with the world's way of thinking? Why the pursuit of riches and luxury alone does not satisfy you? It is because your spirit knows there is more. You were not called to live an ordinary life. You were chosen to impact lives, to influence, and to carry God's presence into the world. Ecclesiastes 3:11 explains this perfectly. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. God placed something eternal in your heart. That's why nothing temporary ever satisfies you. That's why you feel restless when others seem content. Your soul was designed for eternal impact, not earthly comfort. But here's the challenge. Many people ignore this calling. They drown out their purpose with distractions. They chase after money, success, and comfort, thinking that will fill the void. But the truth is, only God's purpose will satisfy your soul. And this is where the first sign becomes clear. If you have felt this deep sense of calling, this unshakable hunger for something greater, you need to know it is not random. It is the voice of God pulling you toward your destiny. The question is, Are you ready to answer? Sign 2. You face intense spiritual battles. When God chooses someone, the enemy takes notice. From the very first day you were born, the enemy has been watching you. These attacks are signs that there is something great about your life. The devil fights whatever is for God. He'll try to stop you before you even know your calling. Throughout history, we see this pattern. When someone is chosen for greatness, the enemy tries to destroy them, even from birth. Pharaoh tried to kill all Hebrew male children because he knew a deliverer was coming, attempting to destroy Moses before he could fulfill his calling. King Herod ordered the killing of all babies in Bethlehem because he heard the King of Kings had been born, trying to stop Jesus from the very beginning. This shows us that the greater your calling, the earlier and more intense the attacks will be. Look at the story of Joseph. God gave him dreams of greatness, of prosperity, of ruling over nations. But what happened next? His own brothers turned against him. He was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and falsely accused. It seemed like everything was falling apart, but in reality, God was positioning him for his destiny. This is what many chosen people go through. The enemy tries to stop you before you step into your purpose. The attacks come from unexpected places, sometimes even from family, close friends, or trusted people. You might face rejection, people misunderstanding you, or situations where everything seems to work against you. But here is the truth. If you were not called for something great, you would not be a target. The reason you face spiritual battles is because the enemy sees what you will become if you continue to walk with God. Look at Job. He was a man of great wealth, riches, and luxury. He had everything: a family, prosperity, and honor. But then he lost it all. The enemy attacked everything he had, but why? Because Job was a man chosen by God. And in the end, what happened? God restored him, giving him double what he had lost. The enemy does not attack people who are not a threat. The very fact that you have faced hardship, pain, and trials is a sign that God's hand is on you. It means your purpose is so powerful that the enemy is trying to stop you before you even step into it. Think about your own life. Have you faced betrayal from people you trusted? Have you walked through financial struggles when you were trying to do the right thing? Have you experienced seasons of loss, uncertainty, or isolation? If so, do not see it as a curse. See it as confirmation. Because here is what the enemy does not want you to know. Every battle you have faced is actually preparing you for something greater. Every attack is shaping you, strengthening you, and making you into the person God has called you to be. The key is this: do not give up. Do not let the hardship make you question your purpose. Instead, let it confirm that you are chosen. And as you begin to see the truth behind your battles, something powerful happens. Your perspective shifts. You stop seeing challenges as obstacles and start seeing them as training for your destiny. Because the reality is, every great person God has ever chosen has faced intense spiritual battles. And if you are facing them now, it is because something incredible is on the other side. Sign 3. You are drawn to righteousness. Even when it's difficult, there is something inside you that won't let you walk away from God. Even when you stumble, even when temptation surrounds you, there is a deep conviction inside that pulls you back. That is not normal. That is a sign that God has chosen you. The world tells you to chase after money, luxury, and riches without considering the cost. It tells you that you can do whatever you want, live however you please, and that nothing really matters. But something in you rejects that mindset. You feel the weight of your actions. You cannot be comfortable in sin. That is God's hand on your life. Look at David. He was anointed to be king, yet he made terrible mistakes. He committed adultery, orchestrated a murder, and yet he was still called a man after God's own heart. Acts 13:22. Why? Because when he fell, he always came back to God. His spirit could not bear to be separated from him. That is the difference between someone who is merely religious and someone who is chosen. Many people sin and feel nothing. But when you are chosen, sin makes you feel disconnected. You might try to ignore it, but something inside of you keeps pulling you back. That's because God does not let go of those He has chosen. You've seen this in your own life. The times you tried to follow the crowd, to blend in, to live like everyone else, yet something always pulled you back. You cannot enjoy what others enjoy without feeling empty. The money, the luxuries, the success, it might feel good for a moment, but it never satisfies. That's because your soul was created for more. When God chooses someone, He places His Spirit inside them. That is why you feel conviction when others do not. That is why you feel uncomfortable in places that others celebrate. It is because you do not belong to the world, you belong to God. This conviction is one of the clearest signs that you are chosen. It is evidence that God's love for you is so strong that He will not allow you to destroy yourself. He will keep calling you back, pulling you toward righteousness. But understand this: conviction is not condemnation. When God convicts you, it is not to shame you, it is to guide you back to Him. When David sinned, God didn't reject him, He restored him. When Peter denied Jesus, he wasn't abandoned, he was redeemed and called again. The enemy wants you to think that your mistakes disqualify you, but in reality, your conviction is proof that you are still called. Because those who are not chosen feel no pull toward God. But you cannot walk away. You may drift, but you will always be drawn back. That is how you know you belong to Him. If this resonates with you, like this video, not just as an action but as a declaration that you recognize God's hand on your life. Now you might be wondering, if God has truly chosen me, if I'm walking in righteousness and facing all these battles, where is His help? Where is His provision when I need it most? This brings us to the fourth sign. Sign 4. You experience supernatural provision. There are moments in your life where you should have failed, where you should have lost everything, but somehow God made a way. This is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is divine provision, and it is one of the most undeniable signs that you are chosen. When God calls someone, He provides for them. This does not mean life will always be easy or that money will fall from the sky. It means that even in the worst situations, God ensures that you have exactly what you need to keep moving forward. Look at Elijah in 1 Kings 17. There was famine in the land. There was no food, no water, and yet God sent ravens to feed him. And when the brook dried up, God sent him to a widow who had only a handful of flour and oil left. She thought she would die, but her supply never ran out. That is how God works in the lives of those He chooses. When it looks like there is no way, He creates one. Think about your own life. Have you ever been in a situation where you had no money, no resources, no plan, and yet somehow you made it through? Maybe you lost a job, but an unexpected opportunity came. Maybe your finances were tight, but suddenly the right amount appeared at the perfect time. Maybe you faced an impossible situation, yet doors opened in ways you could never explain. That is not luck. That is God's supernatural provision. God's provision is not just about money. It is about direction, protection, and opportunities. Many times He blocks the wrong paths so that you end up where you are supposed to be. He removes toxic people from your life. He closes doors that you begged Him to open, only for you to later realize He was protecting you from something destructive. Look at Joseph. He was sold into slavery. That looked like loss. But in reality, it positioned him for the palace. He was thrown into prison, another loss. But that loss placed him in the perfect position to be elevated to second in command over Egypt. Every loss was actually God's provision in disguise. That is how God works. Sometimes His provision does not look like a blessing at first. It might look like rejection, hardship, or failure. But if you look back over your life, you will see that every time something went wrong, it eventually led to something better. God's provision is a sign that you are chosen. He does not abandon those He calls. He may allow seasons of testing, but He always makes a way. And those who trust Him, even in uncertainty, always come out on the other side stronger, wiser, and more blessed than before. You may not always see it in the moment, but every step of your journey has been guided by the hand of God. Sign 5. You carry the weight of others' burdens. There is something different about you. While others go about their lives focused only on their own success, their own comfort, their own money, riches, and luxury, you feel something deeper. You feel the weight of the world. The pain of others affects you deeply. When you see injustice, suffering, or people struggling, you can't just look away. This is not a personality trait. This is a divine sign. Look at Nehemiah. He was living in comfort, serving in the palace of the king. He had access to wealth, influence, and privilege. And yet when he heard that the walls of Jerusalem were broken down, he wept. Nehemiah 1:4 says, "When I heard these things, I sat down and wept for some days. I mourned and fasted and prayed before the God of heaven." Why would a man with everything feel so deeply about something that didn't directly affect him? Because he was chosen. And those who are chosen carry God's burden for the world. You've probably experienced this in your own life. You feel an urge to help when no one else does. You see beyond the surface. You recognize spiritual battles, hidden pain, and opportunities to make a difference when others just walk by. Maybe you have given to someone in need, even when you didn't have much for yourself. Maybe you have stayed up praying for people who never even knew you were interceding for them. Maybe you have felt a calling to serve, lead, or fight for something bigger than yourself, even when it made no logical sense. That is the sign of someone who carries God's heart. Moses felt this. He lived in the luxury of Pharaoh's palace, yet he could not ignore the suffering of his people. He tried to blend in, to live an easy life, but his burden would not let him stay comfortable. Eventually, God called him to lead millions out of slavery. When you are chosen, your spirit cannot be at peace while others are suffering. You know that money alone does not solve everything. You understand that success is not just about what you gain, but about what you give. This burden is not always easy. There will be times when you wonder why you feel so much when others don't seem to care. There will be moments when you question why God allows you to see things so clearly while others remain blind. But understand this, your burden is proof of your calling. God does not place this weight on just anyone. He gives it to those He trusts, to those He has chosen. And if you feel it, then you are part of something far bigger than you realize. Sign 6. God separates you from certain people. Have you ever wondered why some people walked away from your life? Why certain friendships, relationships, or even opportunities suddenly ended, even when you didn't expect them to? It may have felt like rejection, but in reality it was God's protection. When you are chosen, God will separate you from the wrong people, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Look at Moses. He grew up in Pharaoh's palace, surrounded by wealth, luxury, and power. Yet when God was ready to use him, He pulled Moses away from that life. Moses had to leave behind his status, his connections, and everything familiar before he could step into his calling. This is how God works. If you are chosen, you cannot stay connected to people who are not part of your purpose. It doesn't matter how much history you have with them, how much money you have shared with them, or how much you love them. If they are not aligned with what God is doing in your life, they will be removed. But understand this, every person who left was not meant to go where God is taking you. Look at Joseph. His own brothers betrayed him. The very people who should have supported him were the ones who threw him into a pit. But what they meant for evil, God used for good. Because without that betrayal, Joseph would have never ended up in Pharaoh's palace, ruling over Egypt. Now, let me bring balance to this truth. This doesn't mean these people are bad or that God doesn't have a plan for their own lives. This doesn't mean you should hate them or hold grudges. Rather, you must understand that God has different paths for different people. Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us that God has plans for everyone. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you hope and a future. Some people are not equipped to handle your calling. Some people are not meant to be part of your next season. And keeping them in your life would only slow you down, distract you, or pull you away from your destiny. This is about divine timing and divine alignment, not about their worth as people. You may not understand it now, but one day you will thank God for every door He closed, because every time God removes someone from your life, He is making room for something greater. If this message spoke to you, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. There is someone right now who is struggling with losing people, and they need to know that it's not rejection, it's divine direction. Sign 7. You are attacked but never defeated. There are things you have been through that should have destroyed you. There were moments where you thought you wouldn't make it. Times when the pressure was too much, when the loss was unbearable, when the betrayal was too deep. Yet you are still standing. That is not by accident. The enemy has tried everything to stop you. He has attacked your mind, your finances, your relationships, your peace. He has used people against you, circumstances against you, and even your own thoughts against you. But through it all, God never let you be defeated. Look at Paul in 2 Corinthians 4:8-9. He says, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted but not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed." That is the life of someone chosen by God. The attacks come, but they do not win. The storms rage, but they do not break you. Romans 8:37 declares, "In all these things we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us." And 1 John 4:4 reminds us, "Greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world." Look at the children of Israel. Pharaoh tried to destroy them with slavery for 400 years. He increased their burdens, killed their babies, and tried to break their spirits. But the more he oppressed them, the more they multiplied. When they finally left Egypt, Pharaoh chased them to the Red Sea. It looked like the end. But God opened the sea. They walked through on dry ground, and their enemies were destroyed. What was meant to destroy them became their deliverance. You have been through the fire, yet you are still here. You have faced battles that others did not survive, yet you are still standing. That is because God's hand is on your life, and no attack of the enemy can change what He has planned for you. Despite the fact that the devil has tried everything to destroy you, to break you down, even on the days where you cried, where you felt like giving up, there was a force within you that kept saying, "You will overcome." And this is a clear sign of something greater. How do I know? Because the Bible says in 1 John 5:4, "Everyone born of God overcomes the world." That voice inside you that refuses to quit, that strength that rises up when everything falls apart, that hope that survives every storm, that's not just your willpower, that's the Spirit of God within you, proving that you are born of Him and destined to overcome. This is the final and greatest sign that you are chosen. You have been attacked but never defeated. And if you are still here, that means God is not finished with you yet. If you recognize this truth in your own life, if you know that God has carried you through battles that should have destroyed you, then get ready, because what's ahead is greater than what's behind. Now that you recognize the signs, the question is, what will you do with them? You cannot ignore what you have just learned. You are not here by accident. God has been calling you, refining you, separating you, and protecting you because you are set apart. You are chosen. But being chosen is not just about knowing, it's about acting. Will you step into your purpose, or will you let fear hold you back? Will you embrace God's calling